In that very sort of realistic, documentary way, it has a gravity, a reality that it wouldn't normally have. When Fargo first came out, Fargo has a single card billing at the very beginning, black screen. The following events are based on actual events. This story is being told in order to honor those who died. Oh my God. You know, reading that up front, it doesn't matter how goofy Francis McDermott acts. You are going to watch that movie in a whole different way. It's all bullshit. They made that up. It's not based on actual events. But if you put that non-fiction thing, form, Citizen Kane, it's told in a newsreel format. So a kind of melodramatic, over-the-top story has a gravity, has a grounding within the form that it wouldn't have if you just said once upon a time. War of the Worlds. The Martians are invading the Earth. Silly story. But if you tell it as newscasts on the radio and you break it up with banal dance music, then it suddenly has a fantastically panicky realism. So, using a nonfiction oral biography form allows Rand to be an even more over-the-top, crazy story. And number two, it allows me to cut story the way you would cut film. Because you all are the most sophisticated storytelling audience that has ever lived. You have seen so many stories. And you really have gotten smart by seeing stories. And you don't have to be spoon-fed the transitions anymore. You don't have to, these wordy. It was weeks later before Edith realized that Danny had never called. Despite his promises. You don't need those transitions. We don't need all the conventions that silent movies started with. The audience is sophisticated enough that you can just cut direct, cut direct, cut direct. And the audience will keep up. There's a shitload of stuff that happens in that loser story, but you had no problem staying with it. And so, the biography form, the nonfiction form, allows me to cut direct the way a film editor would cut film. So, that's two really good points. It allows you to really have more content than you could ever have otherwise, because you're not wasting time with scene setting or transitions. You're just going right to the plot point, right to the action. Throws a ball, that wins a thing, that throws a thing, that walks up and down. It's just verb after verb after verb. Another question. I'm going to try to go boy-girl. So, at the bar, with a hat on?
My question is really a question of nature. Are you horribly deviant or
Did you say doofus? Yeah. No, my father worked for the railroad. My mom worked in a nuclear power plant.
I heard someone said that you tend to invite
I thought it was extraordinary, and I was really intimidated by it. Thank God it tanked in the box office. It gave the book a life it never would have had otherwise. The one thing that I am pretty good at is that this is a really, really small part of my life. Most of my life is listening to people, and I'm pretty good at remembering their stories, and then finding some way to turn those stories, sort of to quote them together with similar stories from other people. And one of my favorite stories I haven't used yet, but I got to use it. I have a friend who has this scar around his finger, and he's always forgetting. And then at parties, people say, "So what's the scar?" And he says, "Oh yeah, this is when I was first out of college. I had a degree in French literature." And so, of course, I went to work as a baggage handler at the airport. And it was at the SeaTac airport. And I think he was working for Horizon Airlines. And he worked a night shift where you just grabbed the bag and you threw it on the tug. They came down on this conveyor belt and ticket, and you grab the bag, throw it on the tug, grab the bag, throw it on the tug for 8 hours. And he had enormous student loans, and he had this shitty apartment that he had to share with 8 other people. And he just thought, you know, I'm trapped. My life sucks, and there's no way out of this. I can't get out of this. And you had to wear these really heavy canvas gloves and sweat like a pig because the conveyor belt that ran like fast, it was worn in such a way that this heavy canvas and black rubber would develop holes in it. And if you grabbed the bag in just the wrong way, one of your fingers would go through those holes. And the belt kept going with your finger. And it would just rip your finger off. And so he thought, I'm in the union. If I lose this much of my finger, that'll pay off my student loans. If I lose this much of my finger, it'll pay off my student loans and give me a new car. And if I lose my entire finger, that's like $25,000. That's like student loans, and I get to go to Europe and get a graduate degree in French literature. So he quits wearing his gloves. And grab the bag, throw the bag, grab the bag, throw the bag. He's not thinking about it, and then one night he feels this tug. And he looks down, and his middle finger, the flip-off finger, is gone. And blood is pouring down his arm. And he just stares at it and he thinks, cha-ching.